Day the World Ended is a 1985 post-apocalyptic sci-fi horror film from director Roger Corman. The movie begins with the end. This movie is almost 70 years old. I wonder if it's the first one to use the beginning with the end bit. Anyway, now that the nukes have gone off, a voiceover explains what happened.
This is TD Day. Total destruction by nuclear weapons.
TD Day? Not nearly as cool as Judgment Day. To prove it's the end of the world, they show stock footage of the desert. Looks like they're trying to film around Cheech and Chong. This guy falls down and has some sort of weird money shot on his face. This couple is in one of the safest places to be right now. One of those 50s nuclear bunker cars. They see a house that was apparently undamaged by the nuke. This guy survives simply on the magnitude of his machismo. He stumbles upon the injured guy.
Kill me. Kill me.
I saw the butthole cut of cats. He takes the man to the house, and this guy and his donkey make their way there too. This movie at least had to partially inspire Whoops. Inside the house, a man and his daughter are trying to get a transmission on the radio. Louise's fiance didn't make it.
It's no use, Louise. I'm afraid you'll never see him again.
She doesn't seem too broken up about it. Jim knew the end was coming, so he reinforced his house and stocked it with supplies. Ha! The neighbors laughed at me when I bought 2 tons of creamed corn. Well, who's laughing now? Louise sees the outsiders trying to get into the house.
I only planned this for 3. You, me, and Tommy. I've only got provisions for 3.
So he planned for every contingency except outsiders? Well, guess I gotta murder him. Tony and Ruby decide to shoot their way in. Here comes Rick and the radioactive guy. Jim checks him out with the Geiger counter, and he's glowing. Louise goes to the door, and it's the old man. She tells them to go out to the barn. If things get bad enough, we can eat the donkey. Tony tries to shoot the radioactive guy and grabs Louise. And Rick shows up to show him who's boss. Jim explains what's going on.
We may live, we may not. There's a lot we don't know yet. Some of us may be dying now.
They seem pretty relaxed, all things considered. Oh, the world ended? At least I got my eyeshadow. Jim explains why they're all still alive. He tells them the house has its own food and generator, so he's off the grid. The hills around him are full of lead, which protected them. The radioactive guy has some unusual requests.
I need food, meat, red meat, nearly raw.
Just kill him. Don't give him raw meat. I imagine he's going to turn into this thing. 3 weeks here, and they haven't killed each other yet. They're talking about radiation and how this guy's still alive.
He hasn't touched food or water for 3 weeks. What does he live on?
He says he doesn't need food.
Maybe we should all get some of that radiation.
He's a mutation, Rick. Freak of this new atomic world of ours.
I may be an atomic mutation, but I still have feelings, you know. He tries to shoot his shot and fails.
Would you go with me?
No.
Ruby shows off that she can't dance. She's mad because she's noticed that Tony is infatuated with Louise. Wow, what a beautiful post-apocalyptic day. Not so long after the war, I'm pretty sure the world would still be on fire. 7 weeks and Rick makes his move on Louise. I'm still mourning the death of my fiancé. Radioactive guy's been feeding animals to the monster thing. The gang gathers around for their weekly Bible studies. Uh-oh, here come the nuclear rains.
It'll be coming down through clouds saturated with nuclear death. I'm afraid there'll be no escaping it.
Well, we had a good run. We'll all be dead by morning. They survived the rains, so Jim suggested they all go take baths in the local waterfall. Geez, ladies, cover up! I can clearly see your knees. Louise senses someone watching, but Ruby doesn't care.
Probably one of the men. Boys will be boys.
She's just happy that somebody's interested. On the way back to the house, they find some strange footprints. Oh my God! Paris Hilton's been through here! Tony makes a pass at Louise. What's wrong? I'm only slightly rapey. Ruby reminds him there's still plenty of grain left in this silo. They got a month of food left, so Tony decides to murder everyone so they'll get to live longer. Jim tells Rick about some animals that survived their nuclear testing. A squirrel, a dog, and a monkey. The first 2 animals died during the first few days, but the monkey grew a third eye and reached enlightenment. Jim tells Rick it's time to start knocking up the women.
I'll talk to the girls in the morning. The girls? Yes. They should bear children as soon as possible.
Wait, aren't they running out of food in a month? And you're gonna make more people? Jim gets right down to business. He tells Louise she needs to marry Rick and repopulate the Earth. Hi, I'm ready to start making babies. Louise tells him there's something outside that's been contacting her.
Remember I told you at the lake I had a tingling sensation?
Oh dear, that's just the Denerex. The tingle means it's working. Jim and Rick run into the radioactive guy who just got some Halloween props from Party City. His face seems to have been covered by cookies and cream. He tells them about another monster and then dies. Ruby goes to see Pete because she needs to get drunk. Hey, wait, radioactive guy's still alive. I guess that was someone else who died, but they all look the same. Rick wants to know what he does every night, but radioactive guy doesn't feel like sharing. All right, he does give this ominous news.
In a little while, all of you will be dead.
The next day, Ruby puts on the most boring strip show ever. Later, Rick takes over as the day-for-night watchman. Rick notices that radioactive guy stole the donkey Diablo. Oh, sure, get rid of the only likable character. Radioactive guy tries to make a peace offering, but the monster kills him and eats Diablo. There's a cameo from the director. Now that Diablo's dead, Pete goes to kill himself. Jim tries to stop him, but trips over nothing and gets knocked out. Ruby's afraid she's turning into a monster. I know what'll help. I'll drink more. Tony tries to coerce Louise into loving him, but Ruby stops him. He then decides to teach her a lesson.
Happy landing, sweetheart.
The next day, Rick watches Louise take a bath. She sees the monster, and the two get out of there. That night, Louise follows the noise outside and is taken by the mutant. This monster is awesome. He looks like a Masters of the Universe figure. Rick goes to rescue her, and Tony stays back so he can kill Jim. Louise escapes and realizes the monster won't go in the water. It's not that I'm afraid, I just never learned how to swim. Rick shoots it and also escapes to the water. Just then, it starts to rain, and the monster is hurt by the water. There's a monster rain joke in there somewhere. He gets a sample of the rain, and they discover that it's pure. The mutant can't handle taking a clean bath. Dirty hippie. It keeps raining, and...
I'm melting! Melting!
Tony decides he's going to kill Rick. Good thing Jim was hiding a spare gun.
He's going to kill Rick. I had to stop him.
So, what you're saying is, he's dead, Jim. Jim explains the monster couldn't survive in a clean environment. He then randomly dies. The two survivors decide to make their way out into the world, because apparently after a nuclear war, all you need is a couple of months and then everything's back to normal. Oh, it ends with the beginning. Day the World Ended was shot in 9 days on a budget of around $95,000. This was the fourth movie directed by Roger Corman, but technically, it's really the third, since he only shot a few scenes from Beast with a Million Eyes. It was originally distributed by American Releasing Company. In the 1960s, they changed their name to American International Pictures. In the 1960s, AIP bought the rights to the Jules Verne story in the year 2889. For one reason or another, the project didn't get off the ground and they didn't make the movie. While going through AIP's back catalog looking for films to remake, they landed on Day the World Ended. In order to remake the film, they needed a new title, and since they already owned in the year 2889, they just called it that. In the year 2889 is an almost carbon copy of Day the World Ended. It has nothing to do with the Jules Verne story. Nearly every line is the same, right down to the way it ended. The picture of Louise's dead fiancé is in fact the director Roger Corman. The movie was one of many films to come out during the atomic age in the 1950s. The general public didn't understand nuclear war and radiation, and the filmmakers didn't either. This caused a wave of movies with real science mixed up with fake science. Day the World Ended is silly entertainment. You have a bunch of survivors of the apocalypse that don't seem to be too upset about it. There's a few scenes of characters breaking down, but mostly it's just them swimming or getting drunk. The monster looks ridiculous, but no better or worse than other movies of the time. I like that they try to make a confined thriller, but really they did that because it was the quickest and cheapest option for filming. No need to worry about locations when you only have 3 or 4. Still, Corman did what he could with little to no money, as well as no time, which is one of the reasons why his work is still watched to this day. Day the World Ended may not be the best post-apocalyptic film, but it's got a big, fuzzy, three-eyed monkey with telepathic powers that aren't really explained and eats donkeys. That's good enough for me.
Happy landing, sweetheart.